right, let's look at lesson 8.6. This is your last lesson in this unit. It's not really the last lesson regarding the Civil War, but it's the last lesson in this unit. So we're going to look at the actual battles. We're going to look at, by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to look at or tell me the significance of the Battle Antietam, Gettysburg, and Vicksburg. Those are the three battles we're going to look at. And you're going to look at, again, about Lincoln's ideas about freedom, equality, unity, and the government, because he's going to actually address the nation through the Gettysburg Address. So that's what you'll be able to do by the end of this lesson. So we're going to dive in right now. So before we get started, remember this is the fourth war that we've covered. So we looked at the French and Indian War, the American Revolution, Mexican-American War, and the War of 1812 before that. And so each one of those wars has about 4 battles that we learn. Same for the Civil War. So we are going to look at, oh my goodness, 3 or 4 different battles. Again, you have to know the significance or the importance of these battles. So the first battle that we're going to learn, it's actually the 22nd battle in the Civil War, but it's an important battle, so we only look at the most important ones, is Battle of Antietam. This is, there's many reasons for Antietam. It's going to be taking place right in this area. And so let's just dive into the information of it. So the goal is Lee wants to end the war by invading the North. Remember, the South's strategy is to really play defense. So this is the 22nd battle that's been fought in this war. And so Lee's ready for this war to end. No one really expected this war to go on for very long, but it does go on for some time. And so Lee is our general for the Confederacy. He decides he's going to invade the North. And so Antietam is actually fought on Union soil. This war is fought, just if you want to know, they're trying to get Maryland to secede from the Union, and so that's one of the reasons they do this. The Confederacy is starving at this point, so soldiers are starving. They do not have the resources they need, and so they are moving more into Union land so that they can actually find food. That's the whole thing here. And they're trying to bring the fight to the Union. So if we can stop fighting in the Confederacy, which most of the battles happen in the Confederacy, if we can bring the war up to the North, maybe we can alleviate some of that stress that the South is feeling at the time. So they fight this war, and there are 3 different outcomes here. The first outcome is the single bloodiest day in war, with over 6,000 soldiers killed in one day. So that's pretty significant. It's the bloodiest day, not the bloodiest battle, bloodiest day. That's really what it's always been known for, even when I was in 8th grade. And then the second one is Lincoln uses this battle to pass the Emancipation Proclamation. Not right now, later. Yeah, thank you. They were coming in to vacuum my room. I said, just a minute. So Lincoln uses this battle to pass the Emancipation Proclamation, which we're going to look at in just the next slide. And the third outcome, it's going to discourage the British and the French support for the Confederacy. So the Confederacy is trying to get Great Britain and France to supply them with soldiers, with supplies, and with money. And so when Abraham Lincoln actually proclaims the emancipation means freedom, he does that for several reasons. We're going to look at it, but one of them is really to get the British and the French not to support the Confederacy. So let's look at the Emancipation Proclamation. Abraham Lincoln, President of the Union, is going to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. It's a document, it's a law. And this Emancipation Proclamation frees enslaved people in the Confederacy. Remember, the Confederacy is the Confederate States of America. It's its own nation. And so Lincoln is really, really brave, and he says, you know what, I'm going to free all of the enslaved population in the Confederacy. I remember this because he's proclaiming emancipation. Emancipation means to be freed. And he does this for a couple reasons. He does this first to give the North a moral reason to fight. So before the Emancipation Proclamation, the Civil War was more about sectionalism and states' rights. Slavery was part of that because that's part of the sectionalism and the states' rights, but it wasn't the main focus of the war. After the Emancipation Proclamation, the focus of the war really becomes about freeing the enslaved population in the Confederacy, because that's what he does here. He proclaims freedom for enslaved people, and now the North really has a reason to fight in this war. Again, it's going to discourage the British and the French from joining the Confederacy. Great Britain, the British, and France have already outlawed slavery. We are the last country to do so in this sense. And so by freeing all of the enslaved people, it discourages Great Britain and France from joining, because now the South is fighting to keep slavery as a practice. And so that discourages Britain and France from joining on that side. And it's going to encourage our freed blacks to join the war. So they think, okay, now we have this amazing reason to start fighting. And so this encourages freed blacks to join the war on the Union effort. And so this Emancipation Proclamation comes after Antietam, the Battle of Antietam. And then we have the Battle of Vicksburg. Remember, go back in your mind, the Union's strategy was to blockade all the southern ports and then to capture the Mississippi River to cut the Confederacy in half. And so that's what the Battle of Vicksburg is all about. The Battle of Vicksburg happens in Mississippi. You will need to know where that is. And that's the purpose, is to capture the Mississippi River. Right there, there's our Mississippi. This is going to prevent trade routes to armies in the east through the Mississippi. Remember, we want to divide this section. Texas is a Confederate state at the time, but it has all of the cattle and natural resources. And so if you can cut this eastern part of the Confederacy away from Texas, then you're pretty much starving the troops that are there. And they don't have resources. If you don't have resources, you're not going to win a war. And so the Union wants to divide the South in half by taking over the Mississippi River. And then the North is going to be able to take advantage of the Mississippi River. Remember, we talk about it being really a highway of the time. And so they can actually now control the Mississippi and use it as river transportation for supplies and for soldiers. Ulysses S. Grant, remember, he is the general. You also have McClellan. We don't really talk about him much, but he's going to show up on your test. They finally are going to be able to capture that part of the Mississippi July 4th of 1863, Independence Day. And that makes the Confederacy lose control of the Mississippi, really starting kind of their downward spiral of losing this war. And we have the Battle of Gettysburg. Gettysburg is going to take place in Pennsylvania. So again, we're trying to move into the Union territory. Not we, because we're not. The Confederacy is trying to move into the Union territory because they're trying to take that pressure off of the South. Most of these battles are happening in the South or in the Confederacy. And so Robert E. Lee is trying to move the battles into the Union's territory to take pressure off of them. This takes place in Pennsylvania. We're in 1863. The goal here is to bring the fight to the North, or to the Union. So Robert E. Lee is going to attempt to invade the Union, but he loses within 3 days. So this battle as well is going to take place in Union territory. There's good old Robert E. Lee. This is the bloodiest single battle. So we saw Antietam as the bloodiest day. That was just in one day, 6,000 people died. This is a battle over 3 days, and 50,000 people die. And so it's pretty devastating. After this battle, the big outcome here, it's a turning point of the war, but secondly, Lincoln is going to give his famous Gettysburg Address, and he speaks about why the war was being fought. And so let's just look again real quick at this. So our first reason here, why it's important, our significance, Gettysburg Address. And then second reason is it's going to turn back the Confederacy from the North. So it pushes the Confederacy members trying to make its way up north. And what it does is it officially moves the Confederacy back down, and they're never able to invade the North again after Gettysburg. So these are our two significant reasons. The Gettysburg Address and turning the Confederacy away from the North, and no longer is the Confederacy ever going to invade the North again from this point. And then in 1865, at Appomattox Courthouse, this is it's a private home, Robert E. Lee surrenders to General Grant, and officially ending the war. Yeah, so the war is over. They sign their papers. We have a treaty that is signed. And then the war moves on. Wow, I didn't finish this. I apologize. I did not finish this. Results of the Civil War. It strengthens the power of the federal government. I'm just going to leave it like this and keep moving forward. The federal government actually has more power now than it did prior to the Civil War because slavery has become illegal at that point. I am sorry, I did not edit this very well. Soldiers to recognize. So we do want to look at two important soldiers. William Carney. He is going to be the first African American to win the Congressional Medal of Honor. He does this because he actually saves the American flag during battle twice. It's important to save your flag. You never want your flag to be captured. And so Union soldiers were not retreating per se, but it wasn't going well for the Union at that time in that particular moment. And so Carney is able to rescue that flag, take it, retreat, get set back up, and set that flag up. And he wins the Congressional Medal of Honor for that. Congressional Medal of Honor is one of the highest awards that a soldier can win. And then we have William Buzar. Born in Chile, he is a Union soldier. He's going to help deliver messages, so he's a runner during the Civil War. He also wins the Congressional Medal of Honor. To be a messenger in any war is one of the most dangerous things you can do because you have to come out of your trench or out of the hole that you've dug, and you've got to run across enemy fire to get messages to and fro to different generals. And so he was incredibly brave in what he did. And that's what a Congressional Medal of Honor looks like. And I believe that is it. We are going to pick up with Reconstruction with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. So, spoiler alert, he is shot and killed not long after the Civil War, leading us into a time period called Reconstruction, the rebuilding of the United States after the Civil War. All right, you've got a graphic organizer over the battles and a critical thinking question to answer. You need at least one of your lesson partners to do that, and you're talking to each other.